Look, I might be coming across as an old man saying this, but since I've turned 30, I've been feeling really retrospective about all the aspects of my life. I tend to do this quite a bit, but especially the lead up to turning 30, I'm thinking like, you know, should I be still playing video games? Should I do this? Should I do that? Etc, etc, etc. And of course the answer is yes. It brings me happiness, it doesn't hurt anyone, it's all good. As long as I don't get too obsessed, I don't fall down a rabbit hole of World of Warcraft or some crazy MMO. We're in the clear, we're all good, don't worry about it. But it is a question that comes up every now and again. A lot of friends around me, they loved video games in school and they no longer really care about video games, they've moved on. But for me, video games have been something that's been really important to me my whole life. It's something that brings me joy, it's something that brings me excitement. It's also a medium that makes me think and makes me learn, and it's very important to keep your mind ticking along. I grew up as an only child, so for me it was I couldn't play Monopoly or board games. I was just by myself, so I needed a computer to play against. That's where like Super Smash Brothers and all of these games was great to like hone your skills, sharpen your mind a little bit, play some Pokemon. You got to remember those 16 type variations before Fairy came in. You got to do it. Otherwise, you'll become dumb. I haven't played. Maybe that's what happened in the last few years. But I want to talk to you guys about the 5 games that define me as a gamer. These are games that I played early on in my gaming career that opened my eyes to certain genres, certain platforms, etc., that I'm really keen to talk about. And I'd love to hear what your 5 games that define you are as well. We've all gone on our own separate gaming journeys. We might have ended up in the same place, talking about same games, same platforms, etc. But gaming today is just so varied, so we've got so many options. But I think a lot of us started in a unique place, which is pretty cool, depending on, I guess, what age we started playing and all of that. But I want to start off with number 1. Number 1 is something that isn't a traditional video game that you put into a console or a handheld device or anything like that. It's a standalone electronic that I think it actually made me started my, I guess, fascination with tech as well. I always love, latest phone, latest handheld device, something that just does something cool, just playing around with tech. And this is the Digimon Tamagotchi. And this was all the rage. When did I get it? 2003? I got my Digimon Tamagotchi in 2003. I actually still have it. And it's a little brown device and you raise a little Digimon. It starts off as a Digi-Egg. And I think the first stage, what is it? The baby stage, when it goes to Rookie. Is it Rookie? No, in training, then it goes to Rookie stage, then Champion and Ultimate. There's no Mega in the Digimon Tamagotchis. And man, I just fell in love with this thing. It was so fun to raise a Digimon. I've got so many great memories of actually getting a good Digi-evolution. Because the whole idea is this, like, you've got to feed it vitamins, you've got to clean its poo, and if you do it just right, it'll evolve into like a stronger form. The one I had, there was a Digimon called Raremon, where Raremon, he was just like a pile of sludge. He was like the muck equivalent in Pokemon. And I quite often had him, but I remember like finally getting, I'm pulling from my memory bank here, but I think, was it Tyrannomon? Yeah, it was like, I got Tyrannomon finally, and I was so excited, but then Tyrannomon, I got him to digivolve into Metal Tyrannomon, and that was super exciting. I remember going to school, and everybody had a little Digimon Tamagotchi or one of the Digivices that you shook and went on an adventure with. And I remember just cleaning everybody up, and it was so much fun. But actually getting those friends as well, that's how I met a lot of my friends, including my best friend Bryce, who I did the podcast The House of Mario with for over 200 episodes on this channel. And I still remember, being like looking around the schoolyard, seeing if anybody else had one, and I saw like a group of kids that had a Digimon Tamagotchi, and I went up to him and said, "Hey man, do you want to battle or whatever?" And it was a good little icebreaker, little grade 3 Drew meeting one of his best friends. And yeah, no, it was a really great experience. So the Digimon Tamagotchi is near and dear to my heart. I went and got like the other Digimon toys as well. There was the Digimon D-Gather, which was the equivalent of I guess a Pokemon Pokedex. There was a Detector, which is like a Digivice that you shook. You went on an adventure, you battled along the way, and you could do battles. And then there was I think it's the Digimon Pendulum. Is it Pendulum or Pendulum? It was a Pendulum. That was like a Tamagotchi thing as well, but it had like shaking and you could do other things with it. So yeah, Digimon's very near and dear to my heart. That's what sort of got me into the whole Digimon, Pokemon sort of thing that led me into another one of a very defining game for me. And this was the first game I ever owned. It wasn't something that I played at friends' places. This was something that I had in my pocket, and this was like the first adventure I ever went on. And this was Pokemon Sapphire on the Game Boy Advance SP. Got it for Christmas 2003, and I loved this thing, man. I loved Pokemon Sapphire, and I love Pokemon Sapphire to this day. It's a very important game for me, and I remember Christmas. Christmas was, you know, no offense to my family if you're watching this, Auntie Margaret, hope you're going well, hope you're having a great day. But as a kid, man, Christmases were so boring. We used to go there, used to have lunch, and I used to sit around. And there wasn't a whole lot of area to play type of thing. And when I was a kid too, I get along with my cousins really well now, but there was only 2 cousins that were the same age as me. So I would just be sat there, and the other cousins are a bit older and don't really, I don't know, what we're gonna do in the small backyard, play chasey or some shit, I don't know. I used to love playing chasey, play some dodgeball, all about that stuff. But I could be really antisocial and just play Pokemon. And this was the first game that I played through. You know, I learnt the mechanics. I went through just with my starter Pokemon, that was Mudkip. And I remember being really newbie. I went through it, I just played. First playthrough, I think my Swampert just had Tackle and Water Gun throughout the whole thing. And if you know Pokemon, so I never taught it another move. I think I taught it Earthquake in the Pokemon League. I was like, holy crap. Like, this thing absolutely sweeps now compared to just using Water Gun and Tackle. So yeah, it took a little bit to learn, and then all my friends had the game as well. So we're doing the trading, the battling, all of the stuff that comes along with it. And of course, I went on to play every other Pokemon game ever since, but this was the start of my gaming career, I guess. You know, I officially am a gamer. I've got a gaming system and a game, and I'm off to the races. I'm actually gaming. I'm gaming. I'm not in the Digimon Tamagotchi. I've got a Nintendo console. And since I had that Nintendo console, I thought I'd better actually try something that wasn't Pokemon. I had, you know, Pokemon Fire Red, Leaf Green, Pokemon Pinball, and I had Digimon Battle Spirit. Those are the games I had. I'm like, I've got to try some of these other Nintendo franchises. Because at this point, I was just a Pokemon player. I wasn't a gamer. I wasn't a Nintendo fan. I was just somebody who liked to play Pokemon. I was, you know, pretty standard kid at that point. You know, kids love to play Pokemon. So I thought I'd better try one of these Nintendo franchises. So I went into my local game shop, rest in peace, Into Games, I think they were, little mum and pop shop. I went in and got Mario World on the Game Boy Advance. I forgot which one it was, Super Mario Advance 2. I can't remember which one it was, but Mario World on the Game Boy Advance. So this was my first Mario game that I played, the first platformer. I might have played Nintendo 64 games at friends' places. Definitely played Mario Kart 64 before this, but a traditional Mario platformer, this was definitely the first one that I played. And playing through it the first time, it really did capture my imagination, just like the overworld, the secrets, the shortcuts, everything in there. And it was my first platformer that I played through. There were platformers that I played at school, like Flash games. I remember there's a game called Nobby's Nuts. It was actually a lot of fun. I'd love to go back and play it now just to see how quaint and bad it is. But I remember it being so much fun, like collecting all the nuts. Then there was like, I forgot what it was called. There was another game too. It was called Something Kid. And it had like a knockoff Bullet Bill in it. I remember that. But yeah, so I guess those were technically platformers I played, but they don't really count. It was on a website called Alfie. Does anybody remember Alfie? Is that just me? Don't know, am I just crazy talking about Alfie.com on YouTube? I don't know. But yeah, going to the computer room at school, we loved that. But Mario World, loved it. Finding like the Star World for the first time, really crazy. Finding just random shortcuts and secret exits, just really amazing as well. And the final boss, I couldn't beat Bowser. I had to get Bryce to show me how to beat it. He must have already played it on Super Nintendo, so he knew what was up. He knew how to, like, you know, throw the little clockwork Bowsers up and hit Bowser in the head when he's swooping down his clown car. But yeah, that was the first Mario game where I'm like, all right, I guess the first step to being a Nintendo fan rather than just a kid who played Pokemon. So I've always got a special part in my heart for Mario World, even though I didn't really, I guess, play it on Super Nintendo. I'm the Game Boy Advance kid. But continuing on with Mario, I didn't really want to put 2 Mario games in this list, but I kind of had to. Mario 64 is just such a important game for me. I didn't have a Nintendo 64 as a kid. This was my favorite game to go over to people's places and play. Like, I used to love just going on Bob-omb Battlefield and mucking around. I didn't have to go and collect stars or anything. It was just so fun to be a part of, so much fun to just be a part of that world and explore it and jump around and use the physics, you know, throw in the Bob-ombs and trying to get them to do cool stuff. And then like the wing cap and Bob-omb Battlefield as well, just going through that. It was just so much fun just to muck around. And I never actually had my own copy until I got a DS with Super Mario 64 DS. And I love that version as well. I think it's awesome. I reckon it's fantastic actually. It's just a lot of people sort of say that it's not very good because of the D-pad, but as a kid I couldn't care whether I was using a D-pad, a joystick, or like my nose on the touchscreen. Like, I really didn't care. Like, the idea that I play as Yoshi, Luigi, Wario and Mario in Mario 64 with extra stars and like a pretty fun multiplayer mode. That was pretty overlooked actually, that multiplayer mode where you got like a minute, I think, to collect as many stars as possible. They're just randomly popping up in these stages. And that was so much fun. I think if that wasn't timed and you could just like play it together, that would be so much fun. The other day I was listening to a Kind of Funny podcast actually, and Tim Geddes on there just lightly mentioned that there's a mod of Mario 64 multiplayer. I'm like, oh, that would tickle my childhood something fierce. That would be so much fun. So I've got to look into that. But Mario 64, very special game. Even though I played it years later, I played it when the GameCube and the PlayStation 2 were out. It's a very, very special game, and I love it to pieces. Playing that on top of Mario World, it's like, I'm definitely a Mario fan at that point. But I think I'm just trying to remember before I get off to the next game, but at this point I was a Nintendo fan. I was playing on DS, so there's Pokemon, and I was experimenting in like Animal Crossing, which I fell in love with, and all of that. But moving on to the Wii, so the Wii was my first console that I played, that I had as a kid. And Twilight Princess was a massive launch title for that game, or for that system. And I remember not being that excited for it. I was really excited for Wii Sports, really wanted to get that game. I thought it'd just be so much fun, you know, to actually hit the ball, like it's crazy stuff. As a kid, I was like, that is really cool. But Twilight Princess, I'm like, look, I'm not really into the medieval thing. I was sort of thinking about other sort of medieval franchises at the time, like Lord of the Rings. I remember thinking to myself, like, that's not really my thing, so I'm not gonna get it. Especially with how expensive games were for me back then. When I eventually picked it up, I got it for $100. And $100 when you're a kid, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for me now. Like, if I'm not sure if I'm gonna like something, I'm not gonna be like, look, I might like it, put down $100. Like, even now that I'm 30 and working and all of that. So yeah, it's a lot of money. So I wasn't all that keen to pick it up, but like I said, Bryce, he said like, dude, you gotta get this. He's a massive Ocarina of Time fan. That was a seminal game for him. So I'm like, well, there isn't that much more out at the moment. I wasn't gonna get Red Steel, WarioWare wasn't out. There was a few games that were still on the horizon, which I still needed to get. So I'm all right, I'll get this Zelda game. It's got good reviews at least. I was paying attention to magazines, review scores, all of that at the time. So I wasn't all in the dark. It was just like, will I enjoy it? I don't know. And that game captured me straight away. Because when I was comparing it to Lord of the Rings and things like that, obviously Zelda and Lord of the Rings are very different medieval franchises. That Nintendo magic was all over Twilight Princess, and while in retrospective, like, you can look back at that game and be like, the first 2 hours of that game are a slog. And I'm so thankful that when I was a kid, I didn't think that. I'm just like, I'm like, oh look, I'm stopping a ram, I'm going fishing with motion controls. I was having fun, but that game picks up so much once you get the tunic. And just this, like the story, the vibe, the atmosphere, everything in that game feels so moody and dark. This was like the first console game that I played through, because I didn't have a PlayStation or a Nintendo or Xbox or anything. This was like graduating from the DS to, I guess, console gaming on the Wii, and I got up early each morning before school to play it. I have really vivid memories of playing the second dungeon, like the big lava boss, and doing that before school in my school uniform on the floor, just like working out how to beat it, you know, dragging his chains with the magnetic boots and pulling him over, then hacking him with the sword. I'm like, this is amazing. And all of those dungeons, they do not disappoint. They are some of the best dungeons in the Legend of Zelda series. And I don't know why, but Twilight Princess gets such a bad rap. I know it's got a slow start, but those dungeons are second to none. And I've got another memory of doing the Sand Temple. I took my Wii over to Bryce's, we were playing games, and I literally played through the whole night playing the Sand Temple. And I finally beat it early in the morning, sun was rising. Bryce was like in the bed, I'm sitting at the end of the bed, just playing. And it was just a really, really phenomenal game. And the end, man, the end was so exciting. Taking down Ganondorf, it was really awesome. But I remember like feeling like the motion controls, they were fun to use, like using the bow and arrow. This is just a dumb memory that I have as well, but I remember trying to do like a trick shot on the main menu, be like, you know, do like Wiimote under the arm, like, oh, like trying to choose the save file. And somehow through the inaccuracy of putting the Wiimote under my arm and blocking the sensor or something, I accidentally deleted my save file that I played, and I was like heartbroken. So the only way to fix it is I just played it again. You know, as a kid, just play a game again. You got time, you got things, you got nothing to do. I don't have the next Wii game yet. I don't know how far into the Wii's life I deleted it. I don't know if it was like a year into it or like a month after I beat it. I've got no idea. But I just played it through again, and I loved it a second time as well. I've really got to go back and play it because it's a special game. But Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess definitely set me on a hardcore trajectory of Nintendo games. So I was like, you know, Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon fan. And that opened me up to all the other franchises as well, which I played across all the systems and still play today. So there's definitely a sort of you know, backstory to the games that really defined me as a kid. You know, just starting off with little Tamagotchi to getting Pokemon to playing a full action adventure game like Zelda. That's what really cemented the games I like. I love RPGs, I love turn-based games, I love story games, and I love games with puzzles, but not too much puzzle. I don't want to feel too dumb, but Zelda's always been great at being like, all right, work it out. And it's, you know, it's not too hard, but it's very like, it's very, I guess, practical in how you actually interact with these puzzles and do the dungeons. So yeah, they're the 5 games that define me as a gamer, that set me on this path for why I love video games. And I'd love to hear the 5 games that define you as a gamer as well. What games really made you fall in love with gaming, and as an adult now, or maybe you're a teenager or however old you are, I'm not going to discriminate against you. What made you stay with gaming? Is it because you love jumping on the Fortnite and you love just sitting there and be like, love playing Fortnite, love bloody shooting people with Fortnite? Or do you love the stories? Or do you just love, is it just relaxing after work? Just detox. I'd love to know, love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But until next time, guys, have a great one and happy gaming.